The sun was going down on Kepler 442b, painting the sky in strange shades of purple and orange. The wind blew hard across the empty spaces outside the colony walls. Commander Park Min-ho stood at the top of the observation tower, looking out at the dark landscape. He was a tall man with a strong face marked by the weight of many years. His eyes were tired, but they stayed sharp and alert. Behind him, alarm bells were ringing. The sounds meant one thing: the Vexthar were coming again. These creatures were the worst nightmare of every person who lived in this colony. They were massive predators, bigger than anything humans had ever seen back on Earth. Their bodies were dark and smooth, covered in strange markings that glowed with a dim light. Their eyes could see heat and movement better than any human. They had killed hundreds of colonists in the past 15 years. There seemed to be no way to stop them. Park Min-ho took a long breath. He had been the commander of this colony for 10 years. In that time, he had sent soldiers to fight the Vexthar many times. They had built stronger walls. They had made better weapons. Yet nothing seemed to work. The creatures kept coming. They attacked at night when the darkness gave them an advantage. They attacked on cloudy days when human sensors could not see them well. Sometimes they simply waited outside the walls, and the people inside felt their fear growing and growing. An officer ran up to him, out of breath. "Commander, we have reports of a large group gathering 3 kilometers from the north wall. Maybe 500 of them, maybe more. Our instruments cannot count them all." "They are moving into position," the officer said quickly. Park Min-ho did not move. He did not show fear or worry on his face, but inside he felt something heavy in his chest. 500 Vexthar was more than usual. The largest attack before this had maybe 200. Sound the full alarm. Get all non-military people into the safe bunkers. Tell the soldiers to prepare for a long fight, he said in a cold, quiet voice. An emergency meeting was called in the main council room. 10 minutes later, 15 important people sat around a big table. They were scientists, engineers, soldiers, and leaders. The room was very quiet except for the sounds of the alarms outside. Park Min-ho told them what he knew. The Vexthar were gathering in greater numbers than before. Their weapons might not be enough. The colony might need to consider a full evacuation, but no ships were coming for months. "We cannot keep running and hiding," said a military officer. "We should prepare a major attack. We have new weapons now. We can kill many of them before they get close." Another officer nodded. "Yes, we must be strong. We must show them that we will not accept attacks." But Dr. Kwon Jisoo, a scientist with gray in her hair and kind eyes, shook her head slowly. She had been the colony's chief biologist for many years. "You do not understand these creatures," she said quietly. "Every time we attack them, they come back stronger. Every time we kill one of them, more arrive. This is not random hunting. This is something else. I believe they are defending something." Park Min-ho looked at her with interest. "What do you mean, defending?" "The area where they attack most is exactly where we built our southern farms. That is the area with the most water and the most plants. It is a good place for agriculture for humans. But I think it was also important to them. I think there might be their breeding grounds there, or their gathering places. They are not attacking us because they are mindless monsters. They are attacking because they see us as invaders," Dr. Kwon explained. The room became even more quiet. No one had thought of the Vexthar as intelligent in this way before. Park Min-ho was about to speak when Dr. Kwon continued. "I have one idea. I do not know if it will work, but I would like to try. My daughter has been studying the creature's behavior for 3 years now. She notices things that others do not see. I would like to give her a chance to observe them from the observation post. Maybe she will see something useful." "Your daughter?"
Hey-won?
asked Park Min-ho. "She is just a girl." "Yes," Dr. Kwon said. "But she is not just a girl. She has an ability to understand animal behavior that most people do not have. She sits and watches. She learns. I am asking you to let her try." The officers laughed a little. But Park Min-ho did not laugh. He was so desperate for a new idea that he would try almost anything. "Fine, get the girl. Put her at the observation post. But she stays safe. If there is any danger, she comes back immediately." 30 minutes later, Hae-won was putting on protective gear at the observation post. She was 16 years old with long dark hair tied back tightly. She was small and quiet, the kind of person that adults usually did not notice. Her eyes were big and dark, and they looked at everything very carefully. She did not seem scared at all. She looked more like she was going to solve a puzzle that interested her very much. "Are you sure you want to do this?" her mother asked, helping her adjust the suit. "Yes, Uma," Heywan said softly. "I have been waiting for this chance. I want to understand them. I want to know what they want." As the sun set completely and darkness covered the land, Heywan stood at the glass window of the observation post. The wall lights made a small circle of safety around her. Beyond that circle, the night was very dark. Then she saw them. First one, then two, then many. The Vexthar came out of the darkness like ghosts. They were enormous, moving slowly and carefully. Their skin shone with soft blue-green light. Hundreds of them gathered in front of the colony wall. Thousands, maybe, but they did not attack. They simply stood there watching the walls, watching the lights. And then, in the middle of all of them, one creature moved forward. It was bigger than all the others. Its body was covered with scars from old battles. Its eyes were bright with intelligence. It looked at the observation post. It looked directly at Heywan standing at the window. Heywan did not move away from the window. She did not scream or run. She simply stood there and looked back at the creature. For a long moment, neither one moved. Then, very slowly, the big creature tilted its head the way an animal does when it is curious about something. Inside the observation post, all the sensors started recording. In the command center, Park Min-ho watched the screens and could not believe what he was seeing. For the first time, the Vexthar were not attacking. They were just waiting, and a young girl was standing alone facing them without fear. The morning came without an attack. Throughout the night, the Vexthar had simply waited outside the colony walls. They did not move forward. They did not use their weapons. They did not make any sounds that the sensors could pick up. It was as if they were sleeping while standing up. Park Min-ho had not slept at all. He kept watching the screens, waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. By sunrise, he was confused and tired. Heywan had watched all through the night as well. She had stood at the observation post window looking at the creatures. They looked back at her, and slowly something strange began to happen in her mind. It was not like hearing a voice. It was more like remembering something she had never lived through. Images came to her. Feelings came to her. She saw the Vexthar as mothers protecting their young. She saw them as families gathering together. She felt their worry. She felt their anger at invasion. By the time morning came, Heywan was crying silently, tears running down her face. In the command center, Park Min-ho called another council meeting. The military officers were angry. "We should attack now while they are resting," they said. "This is our chance." But Dr. Kwan stood up and disagreed firmly. "No. Something is happening that we do not understand. We should find out what it is before we act." She pulled up the data from the observation post. The sensors showed something incredible. The Vexthar were making sounds at frequencies too low for humans to hear. They were making lights in patterns that seemed to have meaning. "These are signals," Dr. Kwan said. "They are communicating with each other. This is not random animal behavior. This is intelligence. This is civilization." Park Min-ho made a decision that shocked many people. "I want to make contact," he said. "Real contact. Someone from our side should go out there and try to communicate with them." "That is suicide," one officer said loudly. "Maybe," Park Min-ho said. "But staying here and wondering will kill us more slowly." Dr. Kwan made a suggestion. "Heywan." She felt something last night. I could see it in her face when she came back inside. She could try. They did not attack when she was at the window. Maybe they will not attack if she goes outside. Heywan was brought to the command center. Park Min-ho looked at the girl carefully. She was so small compared to the enormous Vexthar, but her eyes were calm. "Did something happen last night?" he asked her. Heywan nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. They are talking to me, not with words. It is more like feelings. I can see their memories. They were here first, before we built the colony. This was their home. They do not want to kill us. They want us to understand that we took something from them." Park Min-ho could not believe what he was hearing, but Dr. Kwan nodded. "It makes sense. Her neural patterns have always been different. Maybe she can process these alien signals in a way that we cannot." "I want to go outside," Heywan said. "I want to touch one of them. I think that will help them understand us." The debate went on for hours. Many people said it was too dangerous. Many people said she was too young. But Heywan was firm in her choice. She was not scared. And finally, Park Min-ho agreed, but only with safety measures. Only with the understanding that if anything went wrong, soldiers would try to protect her. It was not much protection against hundreds of Vexthar, but it was something. In the afternoon, the main gate opened. Hae-won walked out slowly into the open space between the colony wall and the waiting Vexthar. She wore a protective suit, but the helmet was open. She could breathe the air of Kepler 442b. The suit made a soft beeping sound as she moved. The Vexthar did not move. They watched her walk toward them. Hae-won was very afraid, but she did not show it. She kept walking. Her heart was beating very fast. Then she came close to the big creature that had looked at her through the window. This was the alpha male, his leader. His name was Mothak, and Hae-won somehow knew this through the strange connection forming in her mind. Mothak lowered his massive head down toward Hae-won. His bioluminescent skin was glowing brighter now. Hae-won reached up slowly and placed her small hand on one of his sensory organs. The moment her skin touched his glowing surface, her mind filled with information. She saw the entire history of the Vexthar on this world. She saw their great cities under the ground. She saw their sacred places. She saw where she and her people had built the colony right on top of one of their most important breeding grounds. Hae-won felt tears come to her eyes again. She understood now. This was not a war. This was grief. The Vexthar were mourning. "I am sorry," Hae-won whispered. "I am so sorry." Through the sensors that Dr. Kwon was watching, a flood of strange data came through. The scientist watched in amazement as patterns of light and sound were recorded. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. Then, very slowly, Mothak pulled his head back. Hae-won stood alone in the space between the colony and the creatures. She was not hurt. She was not attacked. She was simply standing there, alive and changed. She turned and walked back to the gate. Behind her, the entire army of Vexthar remained perfectly still and silent. When she passed through the gate and it closed behind her, the colony erupted into noise. Some people cheered. Some people could not believe what they had just witnessed. Park Min-ho stood watching Hae-won as she walked toward him. She was small. She was young. She was just a girl. But in that moment, she carried the weight of peace between two worlds on her small shoulders. "What happens now?" he asked her quietly. Hae-won looked up at him with ancient eyes. "Now they will help us understand, and we will help them heal. There is another way, Commander. There has always been another way. We just did not know how to see it." 3 weeks had passed since Hae-won made contact with the Vexthar. In those 3 weeks, two separate worlds that had only known violence began to know each other. Hae-won spent hours each day standing between human scientists and the Vexthar, helping them understand each other. But the journey toward peace was not smooth. There were problems on both sides. Some of the military officers in the colony still did not trust the Vexthar. They said it was a trick. They said one day the creatures would attack and kill everyone. They believed that Hae-won was being controlled by alien powers. Late at night, they planned how to defend the colony better. They kept their weapons ready. And among the Vexthar, not everyone wanted peace either. A rival alpha named Kazra led a faction that refused to accept Mothak's peaceful approach. "We have fought for our land for so long," Kazra said to his followers. "How can we trust the small humans? They destroyed our breeding grounds. They killed our children. Mothak is weak. He is giving up our home to the invaders." Park Min-ho and Dr. Kwon decided that they needed to do something big to prove that peace could work. They planned a joint exercise between human soldiers and Vexthar warriors. They would work together against a simulated enemy. If humans and Vexthar could cooperate in military situations, then people on both sides might believe that real peace was possible. Hae-won did not like the idea. "It feels too much like preparation for war," she told her mother. But Dr. Kwon explained that sometimes people needed to see with their own eyes that enemies could become friends. "This exercise will help people understand," her mother said. So Hae-won agreed. The exercise was planned for a valley far from the colony. On the day of the exercise, 100 human soldiers and 500 Vexthar warriors gathered together. They had to work as a team to solve problems and complete tasks. At first, everything went well. Humans and Vexthar learned each other's strengths. The Vexthar were incredibly strong and had amazing senses. The humans were good at planning and working with tools. Then, in the middle of the exercise, everything changed. An explosion suddenly rocked the valley. Saboteurs had been hiding nearby. They were Vexthar from Kazra's faction. and they had set explosives. The exercise became a real emergency. "This is a human attack," Kazra's saboteurs shouted. "Mothak has brought us together so the humans could destroy us." "No, this is a Vexthar attack," some human soldiers shouted. "It is all a trick. The creatures were planning to betray us." Everything fell into chaos. Humans and Vexthar, who had just been working together, began to turn against each other. It seemed like peace was dying before it had even begun. In the confusion of the moment, Haywan was separated from her mother and from Mothak. She ran away from the explosion and the fighting, trying to find safety. She ran into the wilderness of Kepler 442b, away from the valley. The weather began to turn dangerous. A storm rolled in quickly, bringing rain and wind so strong it was hard to stand. Haywan was alone, cold and frightened. She tried to call for help on her radio, but the storm had broken it. She was completely cut off. Sitting under a rock to protect herself from the rain, Haywan did something that came from deep inside her. She began to send out a mental call through the strange connection she had with the Vexthar. It was not words. It was more like a need. A call for help. A call from one living thing to another, and they came. From all over the wilderness, Vexthar heard her call, not just the ones from Mothak's group. Even some of Kazra's warriors heard the signal and came running. Hundreds of creatures moved through the storm toward Haywan's location. They did not come to attack her. They came to protect her. When they found her, they formed a circle around her. Their bodies blocked the worst of the wind and rain. Some of them moved rocks to make a better shelter. They sat with her through the long night, keeping her warm with their body heat. Haywan, who was so small and so alone, felt the power of creatures that had only known her for weeks, treating her as if she was one of their own. In the morning, search parties found her surrounded by sleeping Vexithar. The image was so powerful that when the soldiers reported it back to the colony, people wept. This girl, this small human girl, had been protected by creatures they had feared for 15 years. The Vexthar had not hurt her. They had helped her. Haywan was brought back to the colony. She was weak and tired, but she was safe. That evening, in front of the entire council, she made an announcement. She would leave the safety of the colony. She would establish a new settlement in the neutral zone between the human territory and the Vexthar territory. This settlement would be called the Bridge, and it would be home to both humans and Vexthar living together. Anyone who wanted to be part of a real peace could join her there. Park Min-ho stood up from his seat. He was an old man now, worn down by years of war, but he looked at this young girl, and he understood something important. The strongest weapons and the best soldiers could never do what she had done. They could never bridge the gap between worlds. "I will come with you," he said. "I will help build the bridge." Dr. Kwan held her daughter's hand. She was proud and scared at the same time. "We will build it together," she said. "We will show the universe what happens when humans choose to understand instead of to fight." 6 months had passed. The bridge settlement now had more than 10,000 residents. Humans and Vexthar lived there side by side. It was not perfect. There were still arguments. There were still people on both sides who did not trust each other. But life went on, and every day trust grew a little bit more. Haywan was now 17 years old. She walked through the settlement's markets, watching humans and Vexthar buying and selling goods together. It was strange but beautiful. A human trader sold meat to a Vexthar family. A Vexthar craftsperson made tools for human builders. Children of both species played together, learning each other's games. In the laboratories of the bridge, scientists were making discoveries that seemed impossible just months ago. A young human engineer named Jae-sung had created a device that allowed humans to experience some of the sensory feelings that Vexithar felt. It was not the same as Haywan's natural gift, but it was close. When humans put on the device, they could feel what a Vexthar was feeling. They could sense emotions through the same neural pathways. It made understanding much deeper and more real. One of the most amazing events happened when Mothak's mate, Nazca, gave birth to the first hybrid children. These babies had both human and Vexthar genetics mixed together inside their bodies. Their skin glowed softly like their Vexthar mother, but their faces showed some human features. Scientists studied them carefully, not to hurt them, but to understand what was happening. The hybrid babies seemed healthy and strong. They represented a future where the two species were not just neighbors, but were becoming something new together. But not everyone was happy with the bridge. On Earth, Far away on the human homeworld, news of the settlement reached the central government. A group of leaders called the Council of Earth sent representatives to Kepler 442b. They arrived in a large ship, and they did not seem happy. The main representative was named Choi Sung-hoon. He was an old man with a hard face and harder eyes. He believed that humans should rule all new worlds without sharing power with alien species. When he saw the bridge settlement, he saw weakness. He saw humans giving up their power. "This must stop," he said to Park Min-ho. "You will close this settlement. You will return to the original colony, and you will prepare to take full control of this planet." Park Min-ho, who had changed so much since meeting Hye-won, refused. "I will not do this. We have found something better than control. We have found peace. That is worth more than all the land on this planet." Choi Sung-hoon was angry. He demanded to see the settlement. So on a clear morning, he walked through the bridge with guards around him. He saw humans and Vexthar working together. He saw shops where both species traded peacefully. He saw children playing. And he saw something that made him stop and stare. A human woman was teaching a young Vexthar child how to read human writing, while a Vexthar teacher showed the woman's daughter how to feel the subtle vibrations that Vexthar used for communication. Hye-won came to him. "You want to understand us?" she asked simply. "Come with me." She brought him to a chamber deep in the bridge where Jae-sung waited. The young engineer placed the sensory device on Choi Sung-hoon's head carefully. "This will let you experience what we feel," Hye-won explained. "It will let you know the Vexthar through their own emotions." When the device was activated, Choi Sung-hoon's eyes went wide. For the first time in his life, he felt what a mother Vexithar felt when she held her baby. He felt the joy of creating something new. He felt the deep sadness of losing a child to human weapons long ago. He felt the hope that maybe, just maybe, the killing could finally stop. He felt the pain of mothers everywhere, whether they were human or Vexthar, who only wanted their children to be safe and happy. When the device was removed, tears were running down Choi Sung-hoon's face. He sat down slowly as if his legs could no longer hold his weight. "I did not know," he said quietly. "All these years I did not know what we were doing to them." That night, Choi Sung-hoon sent a message to Earth. He told them about the bridge. He told them about Hye-won. He told them about the hybrid children. He told them that he had learned something in just one day that he had not learned in 50 years of military service. That humanity's true strength was not in weapons or control. It was in the ability to understand others and to change when confronted with different truths. "Let them build the bridge," he told the Council of Earth. "Let them show the universe what we can be when we choose understanding over fear." The Council of Earth voted to officially recognize the Vexthar as a sentient civilization with equal rights to Kepler Katinkortidibea. Joint Government Council was created with equal numbers of human and Vexthar representatives. Hye-won did not become a ruler or a leader in the traditional sense, but her influence was felt everywhere. Whenever humans and Vexthar had to make a decision together, they asked themselves one question: what would help us understand each other better? One evening, Hye-won sat with her mother and Park Min-ho, looking out at the bridge settlement as lights came on for the night. The settlement was beautiful, glowing with human electric lights and Vexthar bioluminescence mixing together. "We have done something important," Dr. Kwan said, putting her arm around her daughter. Hye-won nodded. "But the hard work is just beginning," she said. "Understanding is not a destination. It is a journey that never ends." 10 years had passed. Hye-won was now 26 years old. The bridge settlement had grown from 10,000 to over 100,000 residents. Humans and Vexithar did not just live together anymore. They had truly become one civilization. They had created new laws that protected both species. They had invented new technologies by combining human innovation with Vexthar strength. They had built schools where both species' children learned together. They had created art forms that mixed human creativity with Vexthar beauty. The hybrid children were now teenagers and young adults. Some of them could naturally use Hye-won's gift. They could feel the deep connection between the two species without needing the machines that Jae-sung had invented. Scientists believed that in a few more generations, this ability might be common in both species. The future was changing, becoming something new that neither humans nor Vexthar had ever imagined possible. But the path to this peace had not been easy. There were still people who resisted. Some human extremists believed that the Earth government should take back control of Kepler 442b. They formed underground groups and planned attacks to destabilize the peace. Some Vexthar, scarred by the old wars, still could not fully trust humans. Khazra, the rival Alpha, had not given up his dream of overturning Mothak's peaceful leadership. He worked with the human extremists, planning a major sabotage operation designed to make both species turn against each other again. On a day that started like any other, the saboteurs struck. Explosions went off in the settlement's main power station. Fires started in the government building. People ran in confusion and panic. For a moment, it seemed like all the progress of 10 years was about to be destroyed. Some humans shouted, "This is a Vexthar attack. They were always going to betray us." Some Vexthar shouted, "The humans have turned against us." The peace was a lie, but HFY did something that nobody expected. Using the connection that had grown stronger over 10 years, she reached out mentally to every person she had trained in the art of understanding. There were thousands of them now, humans and Vexthar both. Through the network they had created, she sent one clear message: look deeper. See the truth. This is not our people attacking each other. This is the enemy trying to divide us. Through the connection, every one of those thousands of people felt what she felt. They understood the situation just as she understood it. Together, human and Vexthar security forces found the saboteurs hiding in the settlement. What surprised everyone was that both human extremists and Khazra's Vexthar faction were captured together. They had been working as partners to destroy the peace. HFY was brought to the chamber where the prisoners were held. Both human and Vexthar leaders wanted revenge, but HFY had a different idea. "We should show them what we have built," she said. "We should give them the choice of understanding instead of just punishment." Using Jae-sung's technology, the prisoners were connected to the same neural network that had helped HFY lead the peace effort. For the first time, the human extremists felt what the Vexthar had felt during the old wars. They felt the loss of children, the fear of extinction, the desperate hope that maybe things could be different. And the Vexthar extremists felt what the human colonists had felt: the need for survival on a new world, the mistake of not understanding what was already there, and the possibility of redemption through change. When the connection ended, many of the prisoners were weeping. Not all of them wanted peace, but many of them understood for the first time what they had not understood before, and that understanding was more powerful than any punishment could ever be. Park Min-ho, who was now very old and lived in a quiet part of the settlement, came to see HFY one last time. He was dying, he knew it. He wanted to say goodbye to the girl who had changed everything. "You have shown us something we did not know we needed to learn," he told her, his voice weak but steady. "Humans often believe that our greatest strength is military power, but you have taught us that our true strength is something far more powerful. It is our ability to see ourselves in others, even in creatures we feared for so long." HFY held his hand. "You taught me something too, Commander," she said. "You taught me that it is never too late to change your mind. It is never too late to choose a different path." A few weeks later, Park Min-ho died peacefully in his sleep. The entire settlement mourned him. Both humans and Vexthar came to his memorial service. They shared stories of how he had learned to see the Vexthar not as monsters but as people. They spoke of how his change of heart had helped so many others change theirs. On a clear morning, HFY stood in the grand amphitheater of the bridge settlement. It was a building that had been designed by both human architects and Vexthar designers working together. Its shape was part of human geometry and part of Vexthar organic flowing lines. Inside, thousands of people gathered. They were humans and Vexthar, children and elders, scientists and artists and workers. "When I was 16 years old," HFY said, her voice carrying through the amphitheater, "people called me just a girl. They thought I could not understand the big problems of the world. They thought a child could not bridge the gap between two species. But I learned that being young gave me an advantage. It made me willing to try things that older people had given up on. It made me believe that change was possible." She looked out at the crowd, at humans and Vexthar sitting together, at hybrid children playing while their parents watched, at scientists and artists working on projects that benefited both species. "The bridge is not about me anymore," she continued. "It is about all of us. We have learned that understanding is not a gift that only one person can give. It is something we can all learn. I have trained thousands of people to bridge the gap between our species. and those people have trained thousands more. One day this ability will be natural to everyone, and we will not remember a time when our two species could not understand each other easily. That evening, news of the settlement and its success reached Earth again. The governments of Earth and Kepler 442b made a historic announcement. They declared that the human Vexthar civilization on Kepler 442b was an official partner civilization of Earth. More humans were invited to move to the planet. Vexthar were invited to visit Earth. The two worlds would learn from each other, but the greatest legacy was not the political announcement. It was the example they had set. When other alien species arrived in the region of space where Kepler 442b existed, they found not just one human colony or one Vexthar territory. They found a civilization of two species working together. They found that humans and Vexthar had survived together, thrived together, and created something beautiful together. And that knowledge changed how other species saw humanity forever. A girl who was just a girl had taught the universe that the greatest strength of humanity was not power, but compassion, not control but connection. And in doing so, she had proven that humanity was worth more than any weapon, any territory, or any military victory could ever be. She had proven that we could choose understanding over fear, and that choice would change everything.